You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by FootballStadiumPrints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're a Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped! Yes! And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot of the goal!
Oliver!
And Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot. And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Merry COVID-miss, friends. This is The People's Pitch, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I'm your host, John, and with me to close out another trip around the sun is the Nate Morales. Nate, it happened, man. After all the safety measures, vaccines, boosters, doing the right thing, COVID has entered my domain, and I am part of the vid mafia due to a 3-year-old, man. A 3-year-old is the one that took me down and ruined Christmas.
The little guy got you.
He did. So that was my holiday. How was yours?
It was good. Also, all bets are off right now as far as the people. If the people that came to my house infected me, who knows? We'll see. You never know. We're not going to find out until next week. It's going to be a great week off where everyone is just terrified of getting sick.
Well, hey man, in like 3 more days, I'm out there just swinging in the wind. I'll be all sorts of immune to whatever.
It'll be like The Stand. Like you're going to be the only one left that's not sick, just partying by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed for you. I don't wish this upon any of my friends, maybe a few of my enemies, but it kind of sucks. But we live to fight another day, Nate.
Yeah, well, we got to roll into the new year with positive vibes. So, you and I, we're going to talk about our favorite moments of 2021. And tonight we've got not one, but 2 coaches on the line. We were going to do it in person at the bar, but here we are.
My 3-year-old fucked that up too. Thanks, Fred.
To be fair, it was another 3-year-old that really messed it up for you that got the 3-year-old sick. But
yeah. I'll blame daycare.
So we're going to party with MVB and Michael Prunty, Matt VanBenschoten and Michael Prunty, both head coaches for Minneapolis City. It's going to be a good night, one way or the other.
Yeah, I will do my best to get through this packed episode, but if I cough, it doesn't mean I'm going to die, friends. It means I love you.
Well, let's get started with this. Every year, John, you and I do our recap show where we give out the end of the season awards and we talk about our favorite on-field, off-the-field moments, our favorite players, things like that. And I think, what I want to do is more revisit this time a little bit more about just what we loved the most about 2021. We want to give 2021 in this season a little extra love. It doesn't have to be the best statistically, victory for us or something that really helped our season or anything like that. It can just be like, John, talk about just what's the favorite thing that happened to you this year? What stands out? What was your absolute favorite moment associated with Minneapolis City?
It was the dog on the field. It was the national Sweet 16 match for UPSL between MC2 and the Iowa Raptors. So a lot of this sticks out for me because a lot of things actually. So number one, calling the game, Nordo not able to make it. We weren't able to find a sub for you to do the PA. So it was City midfielder Dominic Mezgin who joined me. Super nervous before he got on. Got him a couple barley pops, and all of a sudden he became Vince Scully. And or Joe Buck, whatever you want to call him, John Madden, R.I.P.
Oh yeah.
So he turned into like a fantastic mate for me in the booth because he organically moved into the play-by-play role because he was so excited. and the game was so end to end, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of action that he just kind of organically took off my plate what I had to do for Nordo when I move over a seat. And I hate doing it because I'm not good at it. And it was great. So we had that. We had a packed house. It was kind of right after everyone got vaccinated, at least a full wave of everyone getting vaccinated. COVID really wasn't in the minds of people at that point.
Yeah.
Things felt like back to normal. Like I said, packed house, end-to-end game. And then to end it with, with the penalty shootout, which we had never had one before in the history of the club, with what was on the line into going into the final 8, and a potential trip to the final 4. The fact that Ben Schliemann, the high school kid, comes off the bench,
Yeah.
something that was scripted, but wasn't we didn't know about it. So it's like, did Troy Luegi do something wrong? He was standing on his head for times. Like, he kept the team in it. What's going on here? And then Ben goes out and saves a penalty. And then we talked to him afterwards, and he said, I've never actually been in a penalty shootout before. And so, like, all that stuff wrapped up in it. And then obviously the game saving stop, and all the players and fans running on the field. There was a dog on the field. Something overcame me with the best soundbite ever, and me screaming, "There's a dog on the field." And it was just like awesome. It was like nothing mattered except for on that day for that game and the excitement that everyone shared together.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best part about it was that there were so many players from the first team, from the NPSL squad, in the stands, right? It was just an impromptu,
I think everyone was there.
City party right there on the field. And like, just wonderful to see the organization-wide celebration for that victory. That was fun. And yes, the dog was really the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and there's a tifo that says "the goodest boy in the city" now, that lives on.
It's so good. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it at the in the playoffs at the Cleveland game. I think is when it was rolled out for the first time. But it'll be a fine addition the rest of the season. Really.
What's yours, Nate?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I guess I thought a lot about this, and if I could capture my favorite feeling, I think for the season, it would be from this. It was our home opener. We were back. Soccer was back. 2021. We weren't sure, really there were times over the winter of 2020, 2021 where we weren't really sure if it would be able to happen. Yeah. And so I was just, all of us in the booth were just super excited to be there and really almost couldn't believe it. Right. But it felt like old times as we were able to fire up all the machinery and bust out the programming, and everything was clicking again. And it was clicking for City too. We won 6-0, I think, against Dakota Fusion. And that was only, the first good part of the night, as everything felt just like old times. The fans were in full throat. But really, John, what I loved about that night was biking home. I biked down Minnehaha, into South Minneapolis, and I was passing the burned out 3rd precinct, and there's this bar venue there called Hook and Ladder. I've never been, but they were having an outdoor concert, and there were just a ton of people there, and everyone was outside and everyone was having fun. And I was just reflecting on it, like, yo, the whole city is out here having fun tonight. Like, everyone is so happy to be, to be back, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, the normalcy, whatever you want to call it, of just forgetting about everything else going on one given night. It kind of like my memory. It was just like whatever you were doing that night mattered to you.
Yeah, it really felt like it. Like, shit, man, the world is back, even for just this brief period of time. And it was pretty brief.
As my cough throughout this episode will indicate. God damn it. Well, Nate, here's to 2022 and more moments like that.
Yeah, I guess I hope it gets better next year.
Yeah, one can only hope. Well, Nate, you and I have already touched on our most memorable moments of the 2021 season, but tonight it is not about us as we close out 2021 on this here show. It is about our next guests. We are pleased to welcome the two head coaches from this past season, and that would be NPSL head coach Matt VanBenschoten and UPSL head coach Michael Prunty. Fellas, we wanted to do this in person, but COVID got in the way, so thank you for hanging in there and joining us virtually. How are the holidays?
Holidays are good. Just living the dream, getting through the best we can without trying to get COVID. So it's all good, man, from my end.
No, I think, from my end, the holidays are pretty typical of a father. I put together way too many toys that frustrated me and made me angry.
Didn't have batteries?
At like midnight on Christmas Eve, like, I got to get this done.
Ton of batteries were used, a ton of curse words under the breath were used, but we made it through, and the kids have successfully destroyed everything I've put together.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
Merry Christmas.
It's like, God damn it. It took me 4 hours to put it together and you already broke it. Awesome. We could go into a long list of accomplishments for both of you guys, but I do want to just touch on a few. So for Matt, here's a couple things we want to note. You are the winningest head coach in club history, all-time leader in wins, and you're third in winning percentage. You've won 2 NPSL North titles and 1 Minnesota Cup. You led the team to tops of the country in both goals for and goals against in back-to-back seasons, and you finished the 7th best team in the country out of 92 this past summer. And for you, Mr. Prunty, you are the club's all-time leader in win percentage. So take that, man. You won the UPSL regular season and whatever we called the UPSL conference tournament, whatever that thing was.
Mini cups.
Deep North.
Yeah, whatever that thing was. It was a great game, whatever it was. You led the team to finish as the 8th team in the country out of 6,000 or whatever the hell number of teams UPSL has. Approximately 6,000. And he finished the 2021 regular season with the club's second only undefeated record. Did I miss anything of importance in there, guys?
I think you got it all.
No.
I like the accuracy of the number of UPSL teams.
I mean, I guess.
Important.
I mean, when the franchise fee is $1,500, any dipshit can have a team. So starting it off, question for both you guys. We'll start with you, Matt. What was your favorite off the field memory or story from 2021?
That would definitely be on the way back from Fargo, North Dakota. We had just finished playing Fusion, who actually played us very well. Frustrated us. We won, which was great.
It was hot.
It was brutally hot. And it started out with the fact that you have to turn in these rosters for the NPSL to get checked in. And our captain and starting midfielder, Max Diegert, was not actually on the roster for whatever reason. So then we had to scramble and try to figure out how do we make sure Max gets to play for having to drive 4 hours, which we did, and that was fine, worked out. But it was on the way back, which was the highlight, I think, for all of us, was when I was driving one van and Adam was driving the other van, and Adam had made a point of getting ahead of us. And Tori texted our van and said, "Hey, Adam just got pulled over." Like, for what? Well, we were going about 95.
Drinking and driving.
So we made a point of capturing it on video, which I can't release. But that was my favorite moment because on a frustrating day, it was just capped off by Adam getting pulled over. And I can only imagine how frustrated he was when the officer told him to roll down his window. So that was my highlight of off the field this year.
I think the one anecdote to add to that is that didn't Tori create a GoFundMe while the cop was running his information so the guys in the van could help pay for the ticket?
She did. She absolutely did, because she was phenomenal like that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Michael, what about you?
Wait, yeah, off the field, it's hard to. I mean, there was just the going joke that everything that happened to us it's just what happens in the UPSL.
UPSL thing.
Some of the things we saw and experienced. Everything that I think outside of a speeding ticket, we kind of did the same thing that happened to Matt and Adam. So I still think, the biggest one, and this was pregame, so not quite on the field, is as we're preparing to play. I think it was the Dakota Young Stars in a game, and I look over and two city assistant coaches or staff coaches are warming up the opposition's goalkeeper.
Yep.
That was a first for me.
Because it wasn't a real goalkeeper though, right?
Yeah. So they were actually coaching him. And the same group happened to leave all their soccer equipment in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So they were using a city coach's soccer balls, cones, and everything just to get themselves ready for the game. So hashtag only in the UPSL, where we actually prepared the opposition's goalkeeper. So that ranks up there with several other things, but that one was one of those ones I'm still trying to understand what happened. So.
So the next one, we'll start with you, Michael. Let's do the opposite side here. What was your most memorable moment on the field or within a match?
It probably had to be for me, Derek Ullman's bicycle kick into broken clavicle in the playoffs against FC Minneapolis. Just being that I was still processing the fact that he missed a sitter, and then through all that, it became a quality goal, and then he was like passed out all within like a frame of like 2 or 3 seconds. So I
we
think
call that his bike accident.
Yeah, as far as like I think that's a good like summary of like, again, our season. In our first season in UPSL, everything that happened in that one moment pretty much brought it all together. So much quality and such a crazy moment, and then a little bit of sadness. So no, that was definitely for on field. I mean, that's gonna be a tough one to beat outside of the dog.
Oh, for sure.
I suppose like post game. So
for sure. So Matt, what about yourself?
Favorite on-field moment would be when we went up to Duluth and clinched the conference. And anytime you play Duluth, for whatever reason, it always comes down to we have to go win at Duluth to try to win the conference. And it's just, as a coach, it's just unbelievably nerve-wracking. And you put so much time and effort into trying to control what you can control. And then on the field, there's really not a whole lot you can control. So it's a very helpless, anxiety-provoking feeling. And so, the buildup is they scored. Shit, we're down 1-0. We come back. They get a red card. It's 1-1, and then it's 2-1. And it was the third goal that really kind of put it over the top for me. And I can't even remember who scored it now, but we scored. And it was all of this pent-up aggression, emotion, anxiety, elation, just screamed at the top of my lungs, "Yeah, motherfuckers!" And right behind me were the ball kids for Duluth. And I am very positive that I traumatized them. And they're like, I need to get at least 100 yards away from this person because he is not a safe individual. And I felt a little bad, but I was so overwhelmed with just joy and happiness knowing that we were going to win. I was okay with it.
When do you think the only other time that maybe you triggered stranger danger has been?
I don't know if this is a leading question. So
I'm not assuming there's only been one time. I'm just saying. Can you remember another time when you've triggered stranger danger?
I don't know. I work a lot with young kids, so I want to think that I'm fairly conscientious of that. But I'm also, I've worked with Adam Pribble for a number of years, so there's an element of volatility that has probably rubbed off on me. So I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm sure it's happened.
Guys, so as I guess partners, right? You're the two head coaches for the NPSL and the UPSL squad. There's got to be some strategery involved. What is your working relationship like? Like, how do you guys coordinate so that each team supports the goals of the other and the organization as a whole? And then how do you build a relationship to make sure that you are as supportive of each other as possible?
I think Michael's answer will be very different than mine since he took kind of the brunt of all of it. So I'll let you answer first, Michael. I'm curious as to how you answer this question, and that will probably direct how I answer my question.
No, I think, much of my time in my first season or first year with City was, obviously learning a lot about the club, learning a lot about the players, learning a lot about the league. And then, obviously the people that you coach with are a big part of that. And as you could tell, like, Matt and I's relationship probably just continued to develop in a positive way throughout the season. Being the second team coach, I was obviously at mercy a little bit to what the needs of the first team was, but it was never to the detriment of my team. So it did give you that feel that we were both working towards the same thing. And we were both able to have those honest conversations where I was like, no, I need this guy. Like, he's important because, the big mission for both clubs or both teams and club was to win trophies. And I thought, it obviously showed on the field that we were able to do that, but still serve the players and serve, the objectives of both teams. So, I think it was just something that we just learned, and it continued. And there was more stressful times than others. And we know availability and the roller coaster of working with, men's amateur players can be a wild ride at times. But no, I thought it was good. I thought it was, constant communication once the season gets going. We didn't really see each other much. It's not as much as we do now during the preseason period. So, no, like I said, it was definitely a learning experience, but I thought by the end we had found our rhythm, despite the challenges that were in front of us at times.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we have a lot of time kind of prepping into the season and to talk about how things will play out. And, it's brand new. It's lower league soccer. It's two teams. And it was always going to be a little bit of a learning experience. But, I think it's pretty quintessential City, which is if you have good people who are working in good faith with each other, like you're going to find success. And, it's why the no asshole policy has served us well. And even early on when Michael came in, it's like, look, there's going to be growing pains in how we figure out how to manage these two teams and keep players going back and forth and whatever. But just if you have that good working relationship, which we all do as a staff, even beyond Michael and myself, it makes it a lot easier because you can have the honest conversation and Michael can say, no, I need this guy. Or I can say, hey, I've got a first team guy who needs to get some reps. Do you have a need for him? And it worked out really well. And if you look at how the end of the season happened, where Troy ended up going to Detroit to go play with MC2, and I ended up having Ben Schliemann as my backup for the NPSL Midwest Final. I mean, that's just kind of how it worked. It was like, all right, who's available? What can we do? How can we make it happen? And I think we're both pretty good at communication and figured out how to work with each other really well to make it happen. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting this year because it's a whole nother challenge. But I was happy with how last year went because it could have gotten really challenging really easily, and it didn't. So, I think it was really good.
So Michael, we peel back the layers a little bit. So you're fresh off moving to the cities from a place I just found out about called Iowa. And you get injected into the soccer scene here. What was your perspective of City before you got into the murder circus? And then after 365 days, has anything changed or did you discover anything from your first year with the club?
No, I think, for a lot of the outsiders or people that are not in the community, what you see of the club is very much driven by the social media presence. So, obviously we do well with that piece and the marketing and the success the club has. And the brand and everything's associated with it just from their work in the community. Like that piece, it didn't reveal itself to be false. Like everything I thought it was. I think my view on it changed drastically when you're behind the curtain and seeing all the work that takes place just to make it work. And it's not just the stuff on the field. All the other staff and the interns and everything that made City work. Is probably what impressed me the most, and what will probably, like, to be honest, is what kept me wanting to stay this next coming year was there's so many good people that are attached to the club that are doing things for the right reason. That again, it fits what's being sold via social media. It's not a lie. It's not something that's just put out there to sell jerseys. And then obviously to be a piece of that puzzle is something that, is very special and one that, I'm lucky to have. So, obviously right now everything still looks good. Like I'm happy that I was able to find a way in, and I'm happy for you, John, that you now know about Iowa.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a really good place. There's a few soccer players down there, and we sometimes make our way north. You could talk to, or make south. Maybe it was Aiden O'Driscoll who played in Iowa.
Yeah,
he seemed to turn out okay. So, but no, it's been what I hoped it would be, and it continues to be that and more.
So Matt, a lot's happened since our loss to Cleveland, and we did our best to let it settle with you before we brought it up again. So we obviously know that your goal and the club's goal for the NPSL team was to win a national title last season. Outside of the obvious sting to the end of the season, was there anything that you took away from how things ended last season, either both positively or negatively?
Yeah, it's you think kind of when you're removed from it a little bit, like it gets better, and maybe it does, but I still feel conflicted about it, and I still feel like there's a definite aspect of bittersweet to it, which is, I tend to be more of a glass half full person in general. So yeah, I mean the Cleveland game really sucked because we had chances and we didn't want it to end there, but it was what it was. But then, kind of the accolades that you listed off earlier, like you look back and you can say, I think unequivocally, like that was the best season we've ever had. And to accomplish so much with that, like even we didn't hit our, target goal necessarily, our ultimate goal, there's a lot of progress that we made. And I think that's really important, especially at this level, especially with this club, because longevity and sustainability are sometimes even more important than wins. And so when you can kind of continue to build that community on the field, you can build it off the field, and the club has success in that regard. It's really motivating. So yeah, obviously disappointed in how it ended with Cleveland, but there were some unbelievable moments along the way. And even the game before where we beat Carpathia and Aiden O'Driscoll scored his Zidane goal, like I'll never forget. Just Tori and I kind of paused and looked at each other like, "Holy shit, did that just happen?" And that was one of the most fun games I've ever been a part of. To have 1,000 people at our stadium, host a playoff game, and go beat a team 3-0 was phenomenal.
People ask me about like what my take was on last season. I definitely kind of share a sentiment, and it kind of leads a little bit into my next question. But I always tell them, like, I feel like we were still the best team in the country, and the statistics say that. And sometimes though, you just got to get punched in the stomach and to learn to block that punch next time. And if you look at the longevity of the club, we've taken those punches and we've figured out how to block them and throw the counter punch the next time we run it back. And I think that's important. So while I have you on this question, my next question for both of you is, what was your teachable moment from the past season?
I'd say for me, my teachable moment as a coach was just that with the Cleveland game. I think we talked about it even in our team, in our player and team chat all the time. Like we joked about it where we beat Sioux Falls and just based off of goal differential, we were number one in the country. And I said, hey, we're not slipping from here. We stay here for the rest of the year. And other than, the brief 4-day period where it happened, we were, which is great. But I think in some ways the teachable moment, the lesson for me was like, that's great. But like you said, we didn't face a ton of adversity in the season. And the little adversity that we did, we handled pretty well. But then when you go down to a team like Cleveland, who's veteran and whatever, like we just didn't know how to respond. And so I think for me, the big thing going into this year is we're going to have a lot more organic adversity ahead of us. We need to prep for that now and how we train in our mentality. And just, we can't just say, hey, we're Minneapolis City and we're really good. Like we will be, but it has to come through our hard work. It has to be overcoming the challenges that we may just even artificially have to kind of manufacture and put into place to really challenge guys. Because I think had we been more equipped to do that, I think we beat Cleveland, and I think we ultimately do win the national championship.
Mm-hmm. So, Michael, what about yourself? What was your teachable moment from the past season?
I would say, for our group, the thing that I would hope that they would find would be that they took away from the experience was the the quality of being like adaptable. We had to be very flexible and adaptable, just given to some of the turnover on our roster and some of the challenges that laid in front of us. So, and that's going to serve us as kind of as Matt laid out as we go forward and we battle new adversity, is having a group of guys that we're willing to adapt and be flexible, to play different roles in different ways at different times. And because we typically didn't have the same roster for every game. Even the starting lineup, I think, was different outside of a core set of guys. So as a collective group, our team really probably got a good dose of what it means to be adaptable and flexible. Even if you look at our final game against New York Contour in Detroit, we had to move guys in positions. One of our long-term starting players who was playing in his third position that year, broke his foot in the first half. And then we were playing guys that hadn't played with us yet all season in the final 8 of the UPSL. And we had to figure out how to adapt and then obviously grow into the game and then overcome that. So, and I think if we're looking at from a development perspective, and we pushed most of these guys in my group left and went back to their college world, and it's only going to serve them well as they continue to kind of go down that path as being adaptable and flexible to the situation. But we never really lost our identity. That never went away, but we were able to individually be more flexible and open to some different places for each other. So
I thought you were going to say you're tired of hearing me on the podcast saying that the UPSL team got off to the patented city slow start. That was your teachable moment.
Well, we kind of kept doing it, so I couldn't really say if that was a real teachable moment. I brought it up every pregame, and they just looked at me like they're like, "All right, coach, we've heard it before. Let's move on."
So, kind of a follow up to that, though, Michael, is that UPSL squad reminded me a lot of our early PLA days. New team, relatively new league. We didn't know what to expect out of the opposition. You think you got the talent. We started a little slow. What did you learn about the UPSL as a locally and as a league in those early days of the season, and what adjustments did you make to keep the team successful?
Well, I think it's for a lot of our guys, this is the first time they were playing in a men's league that wasn't just made up of other guys from their same background. Different cultural experiences are obviously good for players, and with that comes different styles of play and approaches. And a lot of the guys in our environment, at least in mine, there's always exceptions, came up through the typical American soccer pathway. Club soccer, high school soccer, college is very safe, very structured. A lot of them, a lot of people look like them, and now to go into, especially in our local league from the UPSL standpoint, with some very, there's a lot of quality in the diversity that we faced and the different teams and how they played. And I think that was probably one of our bigger positives from that experience, was because we had to figure out how to play. And I always kind of compared it to like, if you play soccer and PE, it's not the same at first because you're playing against a bunch of people that don't play soccer the way you do. And it's weird. And you feel like you have to figure it out. And I think that was probably one of our struggles, and why sometimes the game seems slow, is like a lot of the games didn't work the way we're used to being in our normal environment. So I think that was one thing. And then just realizing that because we're typically, from a talent perspective, we were always in a good place. We had experienced, talented players, but we had to learn to not leave ourselves so open. So, I mean, every pregame was around, how do we not get counterattacked? How do we prepare ourselves for transition moments? So if we do lose the ball, we're not leaving ourselves wide open. And we learned that lesson in the first game of the season against Inter. We lost because of counterattacks. And that was an ongoing struggle. We knew that was where we were going to be one of the challenges of our league, because most teams were going to be prepared to just hit us on the break because we would have more of the ball. So, no, I think it was like, again, it's these experiences. Now the players are more well-rounded because of it. And they're, again, go back to that, the learning thing of adaptability. They're able to adapt to whatever they see now in front of them.
Hashtag UPSL things.
Oh boy.
So Matt, most of us know by now the trip to Madison to face off with our bird friends across the border did not result in coming back with 3 points on the bus with us. But the squad you brought there was a talented one, albeit rather young, seeing that we were in full off-season mode at that point. What was that match like? And maybe touch on as well your thoughts on how far the gap actually is from what we do in our little slice of the soccer pie versus a full pro side.
Yeah. No, I mean, overall, the experience was fantastic. To be able to go play a team like Ford Madison in Bree Stevens in a stadium like that was incredible. Results aside, it was just unbelievably fun. And, I think even the result was not what we wanted it to be. And I think it was good on one hand because we got to have some of these younger players get to showcase and kind of for them to get a taste of like what pro soccer really is. Because most of these players have very little idea of what that is, and so now they know, like, all right, this is the level. And at the same time too, like I think it left me at least feeling hungry. Like I know we can compete if we have the preparation. But if you don't have the preparation, if you don't have the guys that are kind of your core guys, the talent, the gap is big, and the results kind of speak for itself. So it was a great experience, but I left kind of hungry with like I want to be back here. I know our guys want to be back here, in whether it's against the Fort Madison, whether it's U.S. Open Cup. Like if we put the preparation in that we're capable of, like, we can compete. On the other hand, I think a good friend of mine, Carl Craig, was the coach at the time, and just seeing, you talk to him and he's got all his thoughts. When you kind of see him up close and see how he does things, just from tactical standpoint, setup, all those different things, how he coaches, it's really up close and personal. It's a lot of fun to watch and be like, oh man, there's a lot I can get better at as a coach. So there's, I think there's some things that we're really close on. Another thing is just in terms of, you watch how Madison play and just much more disciplined. They knew what they were going to try to do and how they're going to attack down the width. And he basically said, all right, we're going to pick on Murakami and make his day terrible. And, we switched to a 4-4-2 with Diamond in the middle. And they're like, all right, we're just going to do this and counter it. So there's a lot to be learned. But overall, a really good experience, I felt like.
That one thing that's really cool about that Madison game too is, despite the 6-0 result, everyone I've talked to that's been a part of that game was so grateful and happy to have gotten that experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you look at the interview in and the Crows, like even Ekuse, who got 6 put on him, was like,
right.
This was amazing. Like I played in an amazing environment at a level I never thought I'd be able to play. Like how great is that? So I think that one of the great things about both of you guys is that we, while we strive to be the best and expect to be the best, there's always a silver lining in something like a trip like that. So appreciate that out of both of you.
Yeah.
This is for both you guys, and I guess we'll start with you, Matt. What do you hear from when you're around town now that we're kind of in the club stage of the soccer season locally? Like, what do you hear from your contemporaries about Minneapolis City? And maybe touch on some pros and some cons to some of the things that your fellow coaches are saying about the club.
Yeah, it's really been interesting to see the evolution of the club and see where I'm not an OG, I started in 2018, but to kind of see just the brand recognition where, it's one thing where the level that you're at, the level of players that you have and that, but when you start to see other people take notice that, and I remember 2 particular instances. One, I was at a Minnesota United game a few years ago, and I was just wearing a Minneapolis City coat, and somebody's like, "Oh, the Crows! I love the Crows!" I was like, "You know who Minneapolis is?" Like, "Hell yeah, man! It's my favorite team." Like, we're at a Minnesota United game, right? He's like, "Yeah, it's my second favorite team."
Yeah, fuck them.
Like, all right. So I was like, "All right, that's cool." And then there was I think the other really telling thing for me is, it's one thing if kind of that older generation knows, but especially because of who we are and how we're trying to develop local talent, and there's always going to be a next generation. It really matters, like if the younger players, or I don't even say younger players, but the youth players start to recognize that. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously working in the club scene, people kind of know through me what Minneapolis City is, but what was really cool, I was at a Bethel game with the soccer Buddha, Jeremy Ivashkovitz, and there was a recruit, and we were talking, and Jeremy was introducing me. He's like, yeah, this is Matt. He's a former assistant coach, and he's the head coach at Minneapolis City. And the dude's eyes lit up. He's like, you're the head coach at Minneapolis City? And I was like, yeah, is that a big deal? He's like, yeah, that's awesome. And I was like, all right, cool. And, I think another kind of a bar for us is even been with the futures. And, last year was great and it was really successful. The staff did a fantastic job. But the goal going into this year was, can we get 100 players out to tryouts for this player ID? Because I think last year we had about 70, 75. And so it's like, hey, can we make this even better? And I think like 10 days before we started, we're at about 65. Like, we figured we'd probably beat our goal of beat our last year's standard of 75 by a little bit, but not close to 100 yet. And by the time we started tryouts with the player ID, we had 135 guys, and we had to turn away people. We had to shut it down. And even now we're still getting people reaching out saying, hey, how do I get part of the futures? And what can I do?
Wow.
And, even this fall when I was at Wayzata coaching the JV team, like, there's players that I know, but they would come up to me like, hey, I'm going to come out for the futures, this fall and this winter. And it was unbelievable and not all that surprising though. Like, word of mouth, like if you're doing something well, especially amongst high schoolers, like they want to be a part of it. And so when they look and they see a Zach Susi, and this year we have a Siddiqui Jebeta who was, AAA Mr. Soccer, players want to be part of that. And they're like, oh, this is legit. And so I think that even more than what I think of it, it's like when you see others saying like, yeah, this is something that is worth my time. I want to be a part of, I want to invest in. To me, that's kind of the ultimate of, all right, yeah, we're starting to actually be where we want to be. And yeah, and in terms of other coaches, like I think there's a really good level of respect amongst a lot of coaches, even just at a youth level or whatever. They understand that, look, City it's men's amateur, and they understand that the goal is really for us to try to make Minnesota soccer better. And we're not coming in trying to be assholes or douchebags, we really are trying to be player centric. And again, that's so, I don't want to say anti-culture, but so countercultural to a lot of soccer environments in general, that I think people have latched on to the authenticity. They've latched on to just the intentionality that we try to give, and they have a lot of respect for it, which again is great and doesn't surprise me, because it's why we're all here, right? Because it's a fantastic place with fantastic people.
It's not like the club exists because of one guy's philosophy or something.
Exactly. It's a collective initiative.
Not that I'm talking about anyone. Michael, I'm interested to hear what your perspective is coming from the college side, knowing that you're on staff at Concordia. You talk, I'm sure, a lot to local coaches and probably some national coaches. Like, what are you hearing about Minneapolis City as far as a place for talent development? First and foremost.
I think it's definitely an interesting situation, because sometimes the men's and women's game can seem like they're in two different worlds, two different sets of coaches. Sometimes the game can look obviously a little bit different, though it's really not. But I think the biggest takeaway I had is, from the offseason, obviously I don't have the same celebrity status as Matt does. I'm not people don't recognize me on the street. I don't know. Maybe I just have to improve my look, but
I mean, you've only been here for a year. I mean, you need to be 2 years and you get your celebrity card.
But I would say probably the biggest thing is, as I share about my experience with Minneapolis City and talk about my role there, a fellow coach I work with who, has been around Minnesota soccer for a long time. He just really shared with me. He's like, it's like Minneapolis City has a chance to be different, to do something different. It's not like everybody else. And if you have a chance to be a part of that, he said, like, you don't turn away from that. And I think that probably spoke volumes about how it's viewed. I think there's some probably jealousy of, like, being able to approach it in a different way. I think everyone kind of gets in their ruts on the youth soccer side or even the college side, and to see something that's so different in a positive way from what's always been done has a lot of people's attention. So I think that's one thing. And then a funny story is one of my players at Concordia, she came up to me at practice after the season. She goes, "You coach at Minneapolis City?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I didn't know that." She goes, "My boyfriend's going to be at the trial, and he told me that you were a coach there, and now he's all nervous and worried." Because she showed me like live footage of him playing in a stream when we were on the road, and his team was just getting smacked. And she goes, "I think I ruined it for him." I said, No, he's okay. But no, I think
he was crap beforehand, right?
Yeah, it's continuing to grow. I mean, obviously, I'm in an area where, being in the East Metro and to Wisconsin a little bit, like that's who I see more often. So it's always funny to see some of our futures players pop up at the club I work at, and I see them, and it's that kind of like tip of the cap, because we're not really supposed to talk about it. But it's like, we know each other, but we're not allowed to know each other in that environment. But no, it is, its reputation is continuing to climb in the soccer world as far as respect for what's being done. And like I said, a little bit of jealousy as well, of like, you actually have a chance to be different and do something different that, like Matt said, is actually going to help the Minnesota player continue to grow.
So Michael, which player surprised you the most from what they were able to do throughout the year that may not have maybe been the case when you got the initial eye tests? We were kind of putting the rosters together and the balls rolled out for the first time in preseason.
That's a good question. I would say kind of a dark horse on this one was a mix of two. We have to give Derek a shout because we know he's going to listen to the podcast. Mainly because I knew of his like quality and that type of. I knew of his quality, and I knew like he's accomplished a lot in the game. But we still, like, as we age, and I say this knowing, as I'm 40 years old now, like, we don't know how it all is going to work anymore. And I didn't really realize how much he was going to bring to the team from an experience and leadership and really quality. Like he created a lot of good moments for us and a lot of goals. So I would say him, and then I'm going to tag on to that Adam King. So Adam King makes me feel tall, squirrely guy. Just
mustache. Is he the little guy with the mustache?
Yeah, sure is. Little guy with the mustache. He's a club guy through and through. Didn't quite know what I was getting in with him. Like, I didn't know him very well, but the moment he showed up, he was like high energy, loved everyone, loved every moment, didn't care how much he played, but he scored some of the biggest goals for us and came in and like created a lot of madness in a good way. And you just didn't expect it from him. You look at him, nothing about him says this guy's about to go score a couple goals on you. And he did. So I would say those two are probably the ones that probably surprised me the most throughout the season.
So, Matt, similar question with a little bit of a different spin. What player from 2021 do you feel the season would maybe not have gone so successfully if you took them out of the mix altogether?
For sure, I think. Well, I'll go with two. I think Lionel in particular is a big one. I mean, just the things that he could do, the goals that he scored. We knew the talent was there. And I was just happy to see him find that success. He can change a game in an instant, like he did at Joy, where he hits that banger and we're back 1-1, and then we're up 2-1, and that big momentum swing for us. And I'll also say, I think I will give a lot of credit to Matt Eller. I don't know if he listens to the podcast anymore. And this is no disrespect to Troy, because Troy is a very good goalkeeper, and I'm excited to see him kind of be able to showcase himself here in 2022 and kind of take over at the helm. Matt is always a guy, even from year one, because I started watching back when we first started, and he was the goalkeeper, and I'm like he was old back then. And so now, in 2021, every single year, I'm like, there's no way this fucker's going to come back. And every single year he's like, I'm coming back, coach. And he texts me pictures of himself on his Peloton. I'm like, great, dude. Like, whatever. But the thing with Matt, aside from his ability as goalkeeper, is he has this leadership, but there's a swagger to him, like just this unbelievable confidence in himself and in what we're doing that is really contagious. And so it's really, when you talk about mind over matter, it's a guy where, like, again, on paper, like, you should not be able to do this. You should not be able to hang in here and make the saves that you do and be this. But he, every single year, since I've been here in 2018, I write him off. And then he comes back and he surprises me. And I literally was like, this year, I'm like, there's no way, 2021, there's no way he can come back and do this. And not only did he do it, he did it in a way that really, really impressed me, because one of the big emphasis for us this year was we need a goalkeeper who can be comfortable with their feet. And I'm like, there's no way, like, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but for at least Elder, like, you can teach him to play with his feet a little bit more, and put a lot of time and effort into that. And I think, I think Troy would have done a great job, but I give Matt a ton of credit for that, because it's hard to do, and it's hard to do that well. And what I give him a ton of credit for is his whole mantra has always been, if I can't give it 100% to this, I don't want to do this. And everybody says that, but very few people really mean that and execute. And he is one of the few people who really, truly exemplifies, if I'm going to give 100% to this, I am going to give 100%. And it's why he's been good, and why he will be forever called legend. He's done it for so long.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Matt, I mean, we talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I asked him a similar question, like, how do you keep doing this? Like, you have, from the start, coming off of a leg that was snapped in half, beat out the top goalkeeper prospect in the state for a starting job with us. You beat continually. We've tried to find younger and better goalkeepers. And he keeps showing up, and he said, I just think about every year, like, what do I have to work on? And I work as hard as possible at it, 100% every time. And it's really, that kind of a mindset is really contagious, hopefully, in the club, and they're definitely going to miss him. And speaking of that, like, he's one of 5 guys already that the organization has lost, and they're key players when you think about Steve and Stiggy and Elder and Max Kent, Will Kidd. But the offseason is young, and there's still time to lose more to retirement, time to lose more to new jobs. There's still roster adjustments to make, etc.
Absolutely.
Like, how do you two as a team think about beginning to replace guys that in any week could make up at least half of a starting NPSL squad?
Yeah, I said this to the players early on that, USL 2, I think, couldn't come at a better time for us, because we're kind of on this, like, Matt is part of that first generation, like the real OGs, like him, Ba, Ao, Siggy, Will Kidd, like, the guys that have been here since day one. And inevitably, like, life is going to catch up to you. Like, soccer is going, and the best way to classify it is, there's going to come a point in time where soccer is no longer the priority. And it doesn't mean you're not a good player. It doesn't mean that you can't play and maintain that ability at a high level. It just means that your priorities are going to change. And, as they change, it means you dedicate less and less time to soccer. But as I've told kind of the guys who are still with us, like the Hutton and Ao and Ba, and even some of these, like, U23 guys that I had in 2018, like Nathan O'Driscoll and Artie Perrins, like, hey, we need you guys to carry the water as these veterans, because there are going to be good players. There are going to be good players that come in, but we cannot lose who we are in our identity as a club. And you guys understand what that truly means. And it's cliche, because everybody says that about their team. But City is so unique and so special that you have to have those guys who are able to continue on that piece. Now, again, are there going to be good players, probably even better players that come in? Yeah, absolutely, because they're singularly focused on soccer as the priority. And it's sort of this next generation. And so what I love about the model that we're going to be doing, which is one first team playing in 2 leagues in a domestic cup, is we get the best of both worlds. Like U23 or USL2 is you can only have a certain amount of guys over the age of 23. I think it's 8 or 10 on your game day roster. So naturally it skews younger, but we're still going to have NPSL, and we still need our veteran guys to be part of that mix. We need them to lead and be successful in that regard. And I still think some of them can push to be on a USL2 team if that's the goal for them. So it's challenging for sure. And it's going to be, we're stepping into we're uncharted waters for us for sure. But again, I think that's what has made City so successful is our ability to adapt, to be willing to take on new challenges, and knowing that we can, if we can't figure it out right away, we will figure it out and we'll find success because of the people that are involved and what the club is about. So yeah, we're navigating it. We're early on. If you ask me in 2 months and, I send in my resignation, you'll know why. But
it's not going to happen
Michael
for us this year, guys.
No. Sorry, I'm out. No, but I'm really excited for it. And just even in the player conversations that I'm having with returning guys, with old guys, like they are really excited for it. And that to me is the biggest thing, is if they didn't care, if this wasn't a big deal, I'd be more worried, but I'm not at all worried because I think guys are ready for the challenge and they want to take it on.
And Prunty, that kind of goes to you too, as the steward of the young talent, right, within the organization. Do we have the guys that could step up and take the place of Will Kidd? It won't be immediate, but when you think about guys like Yasik, maybe it will be.
No, I think we do. I think it reminds me a lot of like my time in the collegiate game is you see a class or a group of players exit and graduate and they were really good, and there's a little bit of sadness. There's some, like, oh, is it ever going to be like that again? But then there's that excitement. It's like nervous excitement of like, what can we be now? When some of those players step away, and that opens the door to some of these guys that have been working hard and developing and again, are still true, like Minneapolis City club guys who love the club for what it is. And now that door is open for them. And, now they have these opportunities to step through those doors and really take a new role within the club. And obviously as we take on a new level with USL2, I think that's the exciting piece. I think the guys, the amount of excitement from the MC2 guys that were at the idea of this USL2 opportunity was massive. And it's even obvious in our open trial period here, where we see guys that, didn't really have interest in playing with us last year for various reasons. And now they're here in our environment because of the opportunity. And now that kind of, again, feeds that desire to, keep pushing and taking the club forward. So, the current guys are excited, but it's even cooler to see kind of how it's opened us up to even more from a player perspective.
For sure. Answer this as you guys will, but let me hit you up with a few names. Connor Stevenson, Samuel Ruiz Plaza, Kevin Hoof, Logan Huber, Justin, Tyler Oliver, Will Kidd, Zach Susi, maybe. The list goes on and on. These are all guys that 6 years ago, if USL2 was up and running here in Minnesota like it is now, we would not have gotten a sniff of. We have to assume that any future St. Croix prospects are lost to us. How significant is it to lose that chunk of local talent to our pipeline?
I'll let Michael go first. So I've answered the last few questions first. And he's from St. Croix, so I guess.
No, I know. That's why I wasn't. I don't think I was. I didn't want to pressure you, Michael, into answering this. This is maybe more for you, Matt. Then, that's kind of a region. That's a door that might be shut now for Minneapolis City. Is this a big deal?
I'll answer it first. I won't do that to you, Michael. I think it's a big deal, but in a positive way. And when we were talking with USL2, part of the conversation was they said, "Hey, we have this other team that's in your market. Are you interested? Like, are you okay having them, or do you just want to shut the door and have exclusive rights?" And we talked about it. Like, yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of benefit to being exclusive and kind of being the monopoly, but I don't think that was for the good of the game. And one of the things I've always struggled with is like, we can only give so many of these soccer souls like a place to have a home, right? And there needs to be more opportunities. So I'm actually excited to have another local team like a St. Croix be a part of it. And, you know, you already mentioned like the Olivers, and who are great guys, love them to death, but they're starting their coaching careers and they work at St. Croix and they're going to be part of that. Like, I feel good about that, knowing that they have some great guys like that who are going to help like just do what we do, but in, you know, their own way, which is awesome. And in terms of local talent, like, then it just comes down to competitiveness, right? Like, are we going to be better than St. Croix and try to get the best players? Yeah, absolutely we are. And I think competition is only going to make us better, right? That's the whole nature of what is not just pro sports, but sports is, right? And are you willing to say, yeah, I'm willing to have you step up and say, you think you're better than us? All right, come prove it. Because then if you are, then we need to reassess, and it's going to make us better. So I actually don't think I think it's good, but I also don't think it's going to be necessarily block us from getting St. Croix kids. I think ultimately players are going to do what's best for them. And, you know, I had a conversation with kind of a recruit today, and I'm always going to say to a player, hey, ultimately we just want to see you be successful, because our whole mission is to make Minnesota soccer better. And that's the differentiator for us. So I can't always tell you that being with Minneapolis City is going to be in your best interest. And yeah, I hope it is, but that's okay. And again, that's what sets us apart. So, will we lose some kids? Yeah, for sure. But it doesn't mean that they're going to go to a bad place or be terrible. Like, it's just another opportunity for them, which is great. And it makes the game better. And, you know, you mentioned Jacek. We had a really good conversation with Jacek, and I believe he's going to come back and he's going to play with us. But he's a St. Croix guy. And we were like, well, are we going to lose you? And he's like, no, I love St. Croix. It's been awesome, you know, but I really love what you guys, how you do things. I love how you invested in me, and I just love the culture and community. And he's like, this feels right for me. And he had a conversation with his family, and he had a combo with his girlfriend. And
wow,
you know, I don't want to turn this into like The Bachelor, but like, you know, he chose us. We got the rose.
We got the rose.
So,
all right.
Yes,
we got the rose. So, you know, I think it's a good thing. I really do, because it's just going to make soccer better. It's going to force us to be better. And I think that's all good things. But I'll turn it over to my assistant coach and see if he has thoughts.
Michael, we'll let you off the hook if you want, and we can ask you another tough question.
I think, you know, from my perspective is it just like when you have that another team or another option for players, it allows us to also identify the right guys for our club or for their group. It kind of hones in a little bit tighter instead of just getting everyone, because we are the gig in town. It allows us to be a little bit more diligent on who we bring in, the type of guys we want to bring in, and it works out in the type of people we attract. The guys that are fit for us will be attracted to how we work and what we do. So, yeah, I think it's as Matt said, it's only a positive, and it's always good to have a local rivalry. So, obviously, as we move in the USL 2 world, it's nice to have one that we have nice and close. So, again, does it create some tension at times in my other working environments? Yes, from a fun perspective, but it's like I said, it's only good for the players. Like it's only helping the game here in Minnesota. So no one can be really disappointed in that. So
awesome. Well, really quick answers here, guys. What do you think is the next unmined talent pool here in the cities?
I'll start with.
I don't. You know. Yeah, you go, man.
This is where I think I give a ton of credit to our future staff, and a guy like Brendan Doyle, who went out to a ton of high school games and has been very, very intentional on building relationships with typically non-traditional soccer communities. Like I'll just use the Karen and Kyle Johnson as an example, is they don't play in the youth soccer side of things. But there's some ballers there. And so, but in order to, again, find the right players, like you have to have relationships, and that's only going to take time through trust and, good conversations. And so I think that's a big piece. And if you ask Brendan, he would tell you that the best players in the state don't play in the youth soccer, don't play for the big clubs because they can't afford it. And so I think that is a big one for us. And it's not just the Karen community. Like we have a good number of Somalian players that, we're starting to foster good relationships with. I look at guys like Javier Juarez, who, again, not a traditional player in a lot of senses, big in the Hispanic community. It's a lot of ties in there. And so it's just for us, can we continue to be who we are and find players in that regard who, again, fit what we want to do. We give an opportunity for them through our platform and our brand to help them be successful is the point. And so, to answer the question, like I there's definitely a lot of different pockets, and I think it's going to be in different spaces that the traditional soccer world has not looked, at least here locally, a whole heck of a lot.
Michael?
Well, you took them all.
Yes. Take that.
I would say, like, for me, I think what it's cool to see is like what I'm going to call like soccer nomads. Individuals that had to leave Minnesota to find something that what they assumed was a higher level or a better opportunity, and to see some of them kind of making their way back home is a set of players that I think is really going to, our access and our ability to attract those type of players, I think are going to be something that's really going to add a lot to the team this coming year, because it's unfortunate that the way the ecosystem was, that players had to leave to find a higher level from a youth perspective or even a collegiate perspective. And so to get some of those nomads returning home, I think is going to be a huge boost as well for our club.
All right, so we're down to the last question here. An hour has flown by. So this is for both you guys. We typically, as a club, create a slogan that we attach to each season. We had Back Stronger, most recently To the Moon. So starting with you, Michael, take a crack at what you feel is the 2022 club North Star mantra. What should it be?
Oh, man.
Good fucking luck.
Is that yours, Matt?
Good fucking luck. Yeah, that is mine. Good fucking luck. No, it is not.
I would say 2022 Crows to Canada. Because we got to take our show to foreign soil.
Crows over Canada. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt, what about yourself?
This isn't like a slogan, but it's just, this is starting to catch on, and I love it, is Murder Circus. Like, it's ridiculous and awesome. And again, it's not like appointed, like undefeated or to the moon or whatever, but like it so well defines like who we are, which is kind of edgy and crazy, but this blended, awesome, super cool community that it doesn't matter who you are. Like, come be part of this circus. Come be part of the Murder Circus. Like, so I don't know if it catches on, if that's the slogan. It's probably not the slogan, but the synopsis of who we are as a club and a community, like, I can't put a better term on it.
See, mine would be 2022. Who let these guys in?
That's a good one.
So good.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. I feel confident in saying that under your watchful set of eyes, our club last year did some really great stuff. We're really looking forward to having you guys back again for another year, and only more success will probably come as we turn the page into 2022. So have a great new year. Thanks for putting up with all the coughing, and I really appreciate you guys, and thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure, our pleasure. Always fun to be on and chat with you guys. So always appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's always a good time. Next time it has to be in person.
Yes, 100%.
No COVID has to be this.
No COVID.
The slogan for 22.
Yeah, there we go. No, who let these guys in? No COVID.
No COVID.
All right, guys. Have a great New Year. We'll talk to you guys as soon as we turn the calendar over.
Sounds good. Thanks,
all right,
guys.
talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
Friends, that is all she wrote for 2021. For John and I, it has been a pleasure to entertain you for another year, regardless if we really were entertaining for you or not. Special thanks this week also go to our guests, coaches Matt VanBenschoten and Michael Prunty. Thank you so much, guys. Excited to see more of you in 2022. It's been a fun ride under our new sponsor, who we are so grateful that they haven't dropped us yet. Thank you so much. Thanks, as always, to our sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. Hey, if you like supporting the club and supporting us because we're the little guy that kicks out awesome shit, I mean, footballstadiumprints.com is right up your alley with their massive selection of T-shirts, prints, mugs, and more that feature the greatest pitches and players from around the world, including Edor Nelson Field. Don't be like me and have to sleep on the couch for who knows how long because I got the wife the wrong present instead of the one she asked for, which is the Bizworm Legends series. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I thought you were joking. So if you have already, if you've finished 2021 shitting the bed on gifting, just like I did, footballstadiumprints.com is always open online. Head over now and pick up that redemption gift for your loved one that you seriously let down this holiday season. And while you're there making your wrong gifts right, use the code CROWS10 to save yourself 10% off on all purchases. Because they ship from the United States, you don't have to worry about international shipping fees. It's going to arrive really quickly once you buy it. Thank you again to footballstadiumprints.com for producing such great stuff and being our partner this year. Mindy, I know you listen to the show. Even if I'm a disappointment, you can start to make eye contact with me when we're in the same room now because I placed your order today and you're getting the John Bizworm shirt by the end of the week, I promise. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it is time to give to the club that gives back. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game. We're going to be out in community centers around the city in 2022 doing that great work, having fun, smiling with the kids, playing with them. So help out the cause and consider a tax-deductible donation to a true city-focused organization. I just got that issue of When the Crows, John, and you forget like how much the players love to do this and love to get out and play with these kids. It really is one of the benefits of being such a local fan-owned club is that, you know, everyone gives from top down, from the members to the players. It's really cool. Minneapolis City memberships are on sale now, and prices go up January 1st, so get on it. For only $99 for that full season pass. You can also do $50 for an out-of-town membership. You will support the club. You get some cool stuff in return. You get an exclusive membership scarf. You get the card that gets you 10% off at the club shop, and you get a vote on important club matters. Visit mplscitysc.com and make sure that your incredibly legitimate graphic design opinions are heard. It's too late. We voted on scarves. We voted on kits. Nobody cares about your graphic design opinion anymore. Member up. Send us mail. Hey, it's easy. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch or through email, mcscpodcast@gmail.com. Nobody emails us anymore, John.
Nobody. Somebody email us.
All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit that club up and complain because Dan is really cool with that. He loves it at MPLSCitySC. That's all for this week. I am Nate. That was Matt VanBenschoten and Mike Prunty, and this is John. We'll be back shortly after the new year. Tons of new things on the horizon, and hopefully I will no longer have to drive to the Arby's down the street to use the bathroom anymore. I'm sorry, honey. Stay safe out there, friends.
You got hooked.